Okay, what we've been impressed by, and we have to give him credit, is Julian Laurens' bracket so far. Which, by the way,
I
as he
don't like
said,
gloating. I'm not a
yeah,
gloater, really.
he's not, no Sean Gloater from Jules, but he did actually tell us beforehand, it's free. Go check it out. He is on course as it stands. Where does this come from, Jules? Is this just your tactical mastermind?
Well, I do. You either know football or you don't. So I won't name the others who did bracket who were completely wrong. But it was Alexis Nunez. But for me, 4 out of 4 so far, and I'm hoping that I go 4 out of 4 in the next 2 days as well.
All right, let's get a few more of the fixtures that we've got coming up. Sophie, your thoughts on England against Nigeria?
It's a really interesting clash. We saw some really good stuff from Nigeria, especially against Australia. We saw the switch up by Wiegman for the China game. I think China really disappointing. One of my sort of concerns this tournament is we've seen teams play one really good game or two really good games, and then they haven't had that consistency. What we've seen from England was a really good game against China, but it was off the back of a couple of wobbly ones. So the question is, especially with potentially Kira Walsh back in the squad, what does the team look like? How did Nigeria respond? Because China were very lax in how they were in that game. I think Nigeria will be sort of more on the front foot, will be more responsive to England, and will have more of a good contest. But I don't want to rule any team out, because this does feel like a bit of a year of surprises, and we know that Nigeria have more weapons in their attack these days. Their backline's in a better state as well. So I think it might be closer than people expect.
We've actually got Jules's bracket for this side of the tournament right now. So given that we've got some of these games coming up as well, Jules, talk us through this side of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's free for you. You're welcome. You can thank me later. I agree with everything Sophie said about England and Nigeria. England favourite on paper, of course, but this is going to be really interesting. Do they keep a back three like they did without Walsh if she's coming back and she's not 100%? Do you keep the back three and put someone with her in midfield? Do you go back to a back four and have her in front of that back four, dictating the pace of the game like she does and like she's very good at? It'd be very interesting to see what Wiegman does. The Colombia-Jamaica, I think Colombia, especially on the back of, even if they lost against Morocco, to top that group was pretty special for them. The France-Morocco game is very special because of the relationship between the two countries. We mentioned that the other night as well, but it's obviously a very special feeling if you think about someone like Sakina Karchaoui, who's born in France, in Marseille, but from Moroccan parents. For her and for all the family she has, both in France and in Morocco, it's a very special game. So that is very special. And then the Australian, we mentioned on the back of that incredible win against Canada, if they were going and win against Denmark, then I think the momentum could carry them really far as well. So the 4 last 16 that remains are going to be quite fascinating.
I think we've also got we've got your semi and final predictions. So talk us through the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, when France play England at World Cup, I mean, I don't need to remind you two, especially what happened the last time that happened in Qatar. So usually we win. Spain, Sweden, because I thought Sweden could cause an upset against Japan. And then a French-Spain final would be pretty spectacular. And obviously, we lift the trophy and we go home with the cup.
Jules, aren't your kids half English?
In terms of football, it doesn't really matter. They don't really like England, to be honest. So it's all about France for them.
Sophie, you can chime in on Jules's picks. Anything that stood out to you from his bracket?
I think he's underestimating Japan and Australia. And I'm gonna regret saying this, but I think he's overestimating France.
Sophie, I didn't hear this.
I think Jules knows as well, because he said it before the tournament on a podcast. France are missing key players in every area on the pitch, and I think that will tell in the latter rounds.
Okay, so let's go ahead with just a couple more of the games that we have got coming up. Another one of the games on Monday is Australia against Denmark. Sounds as though you're quite high on Australia then, Sophie.
Yeah, I was quite high on them before the tournament, and then Sam Kerr's calf decided that it wanted a bit of a rest. So they were a bit wobbly, but I think hopefully that Canada game is a jumping off point and not not the outlier. I think they've got enough to beat Denmark, and then it's all about having the crowd behind them, building momentum, having Kerr back for those latter rounds if they can get through. I always thought if they could get to the semi-final, being 90 minutes from the final in Sydney with that crowd, they would get over the line, they'd get to the final. But I think it's just about ticking the boxes. And I've got a good feeling about Australia, and they're still alive in the tournament, despite those couple of early wobbly games. So.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.